Just in case you didn't know, I'm Terrence Farrell, aka TFARRELL. And before we get started, wanted to let you know we're shifting the name of the show just a little bit. It's going to now be called TFARRELL Presents. We're still going to be focused on having candid conversations that inspire and reveal useful life lessons, but we just wanted to change the name a little bit. I might go into that a little deeper some other time, or maybe I'll make a separate video on that. But today's special guest, I have with me Samona. Now that's all it is. First name, Samona, that's all I got. But I had somebody come by the studio and they said, Terrence, if you didn't check out this artist, you need to check it out. And I'm like, yeah. And they said, type in Samona. And I'm like, okay, Samona what? It was like, just Samona. And I'm like, okay, there's a bunch of stuff. And she popped up first thing. And I was blessed by the project. Now, I'm going to read a little bit of what she got in the bio. She says, Samona is a multi-talented contemporary gospel vocalist and singer from Oakland, California, and raised in Sacramento, California. Her overarching ambition is to encourage and inspire people through gospel music. Now, I deal with a lot of artists, but her project, like I said, it hit me. It had this kind of neo soul kind of vibe, but we'll probably get into that. But she has over 20,000 monthly listeners on Spotify alone. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, help me welcome Samona. Samona, how you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. It's nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
Yes, indeed. So I wanted to start off asking, is this your first project that you put out?
It is my first, well, it's not my first project, but it is my first project. So
okay, so explain that, yeah.
Yeah, so this is the first project that I've done independently. Like I wrote everything, came up with the concepts, spent my own money.
Yes.
And so on and so forth. I did a project before. It didn't get released. It got released way after the fact. But I was young, going to the studio, doing a project. You know how it is. Couldn't really get the business part together, but in the end, it kind of got reconciled. But the music was kind of already out there for free. So I do have some unreleased music from a previous project.
Got you. So now this project, and like I said, it has this kind of neo soul kind of vibe. I mean, with a deep Christian message. Like it's there, it's inspiring. I mean, I was vibing off of Be Strong, because I'm a drummer, so that beat just got me. I was just like, oh yeah. What was your journey like with this whole project?
This was an amazing, exciting musical journey for several different reasons. So I took a long hiatus, and it wasn't until COVID hit that my husband was like, you know what, I'm going to buy you some studio equipment. You need to start doing your music again. I was hesitant, didn't really want to do it, but I said, you know what, let me try. And so started recording at home, started writing again, things like that. And then pretty soon, like I started releasing some unreleased, some old music on YouTube, started getting responses and stuff. And I was like, maybe I should try to do my music again. So I started coming up with concepts, and none of the studios that I went to before in the past were open because of COVID. So I immediately began to panic. My old producer that I always lean on, my go-to, Pastor Jaron Himes, his studio was closed because of COVID. So I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I contacted the only other person in Sacramento that I know that is really, really good, and that was probably still open. So I contacted Brian H. Porter, and I was so nervous. I was so intimidated because he's so good. So I took it a song by song. I didn't have like this whole project. It just kind of organically happened. I just did a song, and then I did another one, and it turned into this project. And so I could talk about that like for a really long time. So you just stop me.
No,
But if
but I
you want
mean, he must
to,
say that last part again. What'd you say?
I said, if you want to get into the details of it, I will divulge.
Well, I mean, he sounds like an amazing producer because the project, it's all got the same type of vibe. The production is great. It doesn't sound like cookie cutter. So I mean, shout out to what's his name again?
Brian H. Porter.
Nice.
Praises.
That's all right. That's all right. I mean, so now you're an amazing vocalist too. Like, so I didn't just hear it from the musical standpoint. I heard your vocals too, the range. Why? I deal with a lot of vocalists. Why is the intimidation factor always there when you hit the studio?
That's a great question.
Hmm.
That's a great question. It's because where I'm from, if your run patterns are not like Kim Burrell's or Jasmine Sullivan, you are going to get compared so viciously that you really have to become very strong in who you are and how you express music to just say, you know what, I don't do it that way. This is how I do it. This is how I feel it. And so this musical process made me come face to face with that.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, I did start out very intimidated, but it got better over time. And the other thing is, I hate to say this, but I am kind of annoying. I'm annoying in the studio vocally because to me, the tone has to be just right for that specific song. And so, whereas some people might be looking at the note, the vocal arrangement, I'm looking at those things too, but the first thing I'm looking at is the tone. Does the tone match the song? And so it takes me a little bit to get that right tone. And so because it takes me time, and it's not like just like that, that intimidated me too. Um, but to my surprise, Brian, he's just as much of a stickler as I am. I've never met anybody who is that detailed like that to that degree. His ear hears everything. I don't care if I sneak vibrato in there where he thinks it should not go. He'll call it out. We're stopping right now. No vibrato, straighten it up. And so it's just knowing that this producer is really good intimidated me. But the great news is that he was able to pull things out of me that I did not know was there. Things, little nuances in your vocals, even though he's not a vocalist, he was able to show me how to do so many different things. And it just really helped me to, in the end of the process, become more confident and to have more knowledge about singing and execution and translating your message. You mentioned that I'm real neo soul. That is literally the way I hear music. When it comes in, after I pray and all of that, it comes in just like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Brian, the reason why I was so consistent throughout is because he was able to say, yes, you can be neo, but you're not going to get stuck in that box. So because he has the acumen and the wisdom of being in the industry for a very long time, he knew how to broaden the sound.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's kind of it.
Nice. Now I want to jump back onto something that you said because like I said, there's a lot of people, a lot of singers, musicians that tune into this. And you said you wanted to get your tone right for each song. Elaborate on that a little bit because some people just think, well, this is my tone, and you're going to produce music around that. So what exactly are you looking for when you say that?
Okay, so the way that I feel about that is, I always say it this way. We're used to singing in church. Mm-hmm. And usually you got the same praise and worship leader and they sing it one way. They're going to hit it loud and strong and then church is out, which is fine. There is a time and a place for that. But when you get to the studio, that does not always translate. You really have to know how to sing and control your voice to really put that on wax. And because I grew up as a band kid, right? So I play the horns, I play the saxophone and the clarinet. So I was used to being in band class. And you know how they start with the opening exercise where all of the instruments, the whole band has to tune with that B flat.
Mm-hmm.
And the flute has to match the saxophone, and the saxophone has to match the trombone, and everything, the tones have to, the vibration of the tones have to become one sound.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so I use that for my singing. And if I'm singing to a song and the tone, the vibration of my tone and the vibration of the instruments don't match, I keep adjusting my mouth,
Mm.
the inside of my mouth,
Right.
to get that. I noticed that a lot of people focus a lot on runs, and runs are great. That's a great tool to use. But I've always focused on tones. And singers, it's very important to note that there's so many different ways to sing. You don't have to sing one. There's so many different tones in your mouth. You can sing towards the soft palate in your mouth, get a totally different sound. You can take that air from the front of your face and use your diaphragm more, get a whole different sound. You can change the rate of your vibrato, but you have to practice it, and knowing when to use those things. It's just like having a toolbox and having different tools to use to paint your picture, to express your artistry. So that's kind of how I feel about that.
Nice. And I'm glad you went into that because when you get in the studio, you're right. The strong and loud and strong, it doesn't always, it very rarely translates. And studio singing is different, but a lot of people, like you said, they focus on the note. They focus on, am I hitting the right notes? Is the harmonies going to match what the producer played? Not a lot of people. I've never heard people. I mean, there are people that focus on tone. I work with some people that no, the tone's got to be right, the vibrato. But to think about tone more is I think helpful. I think it is really helpful.
Yeah, because I've always seen people focus on the run part, but then even when I was a kid, I used to say, if you didn't sing one run and you had to sing Mary Had a Little Lamb, can you make it sound pretty?
Mm-hmm.
How would it sound with nothing, just you? And
Mm-hmm.
so I used the building blocks from there. That's what I did. Runs were last, but the other stuff was first.
Nice. I love it. So now, putting this whole project to this EP, what's one of the biggest lessons that you learned from releasing this project or putting it together?
The musical lesson?
Music. I'm expanding it to musical lesson, or even lesson about how to put together like a whole project. Because you got the artwork part of it, you got the business side of it. There's so many lessons. I know I'm asking you to just name one, but which one jumps out at you? One of the lessons that you learned from this?
Well, I'm still learning because this is still like my first indie project.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say if I talk about the musical part first,
Mm-hmm.
It's really making sure your message is well translated. And you can mistranslate what you're trying to convey if your vocal arrangement is not the best. How do I say that? I hope that makes sense what I'm trying to say. I won't say it's the best because we all do the best that we can. But for example, I'm going to give you an example. So I was in the studio and I was doing Me and You.
Mm-hmm.
And I was we were on this one part of the song, I think it was the second verse. And I wanted to do a note that descended down. And I want to say it was a part where I'm talking about You're My Joy. And Brian said, no, cut, stop. He said, now, does that sound like joy to you? He said, it's cute. What you did was cute, but I don't feel joy. And just really getting me to really think more deeply about everything that I'm doing. Even to the point where I remember being in the studio, and sometimes singers or musicians, when you hear music, your brain goes crazy. So you're hearing all these different notes and all these different things you could do. And I'll never forget, Brian stood up and tapped me on the forehead. He said, your mind is too busy.
Mm.
He said, settle yourself. He said, you have to be very strategic with what you pick. Just because you hear all of these things, you got to get all of that to make sense, you
Mm.
know, and
Mhm.
just be very deliberate about everything that you pick to do the best that you can. So that's one piece. Um,
Nice.
yeah, lyric wise, I went through some, well, as you know, you may have already heard, you know, some of the things that I've kind of gone through in the process of losing my brother, different things like that. But a lot of times that I was writing these songs, I found myself singing to my own soul.
Mm. Mm.
Okay. So Be Strong was one of those songs.
Mm-hmm.
Wings of Love. It's like me telling myself, you need to rest. You need to rest in worship. You needed this, you needed that. In hopes that, yeah, I'm singing a song that's very personal to me, but I'm sharing it because if you're where I'm at, or maybe even in another place, it'll encourage and inspire and uplift your soul. Um, Learning how in this whole process to just be myself and to give it the way that it's in me. No, I'm not going to necessarily be um, a psalmist Rain or a Tasha Cobb, but learning through this process to be comfortable with my mission. I just want to encourage someone. I want to inspire someone. If you catch me in a church setting, then I'll go to those other places
Mm-hmm.
or spiritually. Well, the whole thing is spiritual, but when I'm recording, that's what I want to do. um, and being okay with that and not letting anyone take me out of my frame of reference. Uh, Money wise with this whole project, because it's expensive, pacing myself, learning how to do things more efficiently. Like, you know, I was watching one of your interviews, practicing before you come. Like, just don't go to the studio doing everything. I can admit that I am so guilty. So I know I've been annoying in that sense, but as the time went on and those dollars started adding up, I said, let me do this better. So by the time we got to Wings of Love and Be Strong and Wilderness, I was recording at home, getting my tones and all of my different things I wanted to do right in my studio,
Mm-hmm.
having it on wax, and then going to the studio.
Nice.
Um,
No,
so yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah.
Wait, what was that last thing you said?
I was gonna say artwork wise, my husband helps me with all that stuff. So we're just doing like a whole team effort, and we're just doing the best we can. Just trying to share what we have. That's really all.
That's what's up. And I think I'm learning that sometimes, a lot of times, it works well that way when your focus is sharing or just I want to just get the message out, because when the focus becomes money, or all right, how many sales we gonna get, or you know, we need a certain amount of hit, it shifts and your message becomes secondary. And then you start doing things to get the attention, to get the audience, and I think things get shifted there. You know, they get out of whack.
Definitely, definitely not something that I was thinking of, because if anybody knows anything about me, I hate being on camera. I don't like being on videos. I don't like none
Really?
of it. I don't like the attention. If I could sing in a closet and just send my little music out, I'd be so happy. I'd be so content. You don't gotta see me. You see? So I don't care about being famous and none of that. I don't care about none of that. But
Wow.
to your point, you know, let me have a transparent moment. Can I be transparent for
Yes,
like,
yes, definitely.
so I have dealt with depression
Hmm.
coming up and different things like that. And I know what it feels like to want to give up or to not have hope or to be so trapped in despair. I know, I'm well acquainted with those feelings. And so in my relationships, in my friendships, even with my music, I'm trying to capture the sentiment of those hearts that are right on the brink, They love God. They want a relationship with the Lord, but they may be in a hard spot. I want to sing to the souls of those people, and hopefully I can have a lyric or sing it a certain way that it brings some light when they feel darkness. That is more important than any sale, than any money, than anything. If you notice, I make sure my music is available on YouTube. I mean, it's there for free. If you want to buy it, you can. I'm just trying to get these messages out that after I pray and the Lord gives me these lyrics and I put them down, I want to share them. That's literally the only thing that I'm over here trying to do. I didn't think people would be listening to me like this. I didn't. So this is all a surprise to me, and I'm thankful for it, because sometimes when when you're an artist, you are sensitive about what you put out. Let's be honest, let's be real. Like, you don't know if people are gonna like it or people are gonna criticize it, but this musical journey has helped me to be brave. That's the biggest thing, overcoming fear. And we talk about the haters out there. No, no, no. What if you got a hater on the inside of you?
That's real.
That negative self-talk, okay, that keeps you stagnant, that keeps you from moving forward. What are you gonna do? It made me have to confront that and really make some decisions to move forward and move past it.
Right. And I was going to ask you, what's one of the toughest things that God's brought you through? Because we all have a testimony, and a lot of times, by the time people see us publicly or whatever, they think, oh man, she just woke up and boom, she was like that. Like she just, like, Kim Burrell don't have no issues, or Yolanda Adams don't have no, and God's brought everybody through something. And I thank you that you are that transparent about that.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
I've been through a lot, loss, all different types of things, death, people in my family dying, and different things that I know people have heard me talk about before, and just really having to pull on my faith. Just faith alone, like when you don't have anything left, holding on to God, because I know that God is good. Right. I may not understand this. I may not understand why you would let this happen, why you allow this to happen, but just knowing that God has my best interest at heart. And the thoughts that he thinks towards me are thoughts of good and not of evil, to bring me to an expected end. I have to believe that. If I don't believe that, I'm going to sink further into darkness. And so I don't want to do that. I don't have time for that. We don't have time for that. And so just really holding on to my faith and prayer to get through those dark moments and cognitive dissonance, when all those negative thoughts want to come in and just tell you how nothing's going to work for you. And I don't know if I'm talking to anyone out there who's been through that, good and well, when that door of depression starts to open, and it can be situational. It doesn't mean that, oh, you just woke up and you're depressed. No, you can have circumstances in life that can really get you down, and it's really hard to pull yourself out of that. And so that's pretty much the gist of, some of the things I've been through and what I use to inspire me to come through those moments and to try to be a blessing to someone else.
Now, was there, because for me, let me talk about me. There was a moment in life where everything came crashing down, and I did a podcast, with my testimony, so people might have heard this, but there was a car accident, and it shifted everything for me. The person died, unfortunately. I got thrown in jail, and so at that moment, it was like, all right, God, you know what? I'm finished making decisions. It's whatever you want me to do. Was there a moment like that? Because normally you come to this maturity of, my faith is going to have to sustain me, but you don't start out, most people don't start out in church like that. It's not, it's like, well, this, that. Was there a moment where that happened, or it was a slow build for you?
Yes, there absolutely was a moment like that. It was several years ago. I can't divulge everything that happened,
Yes, sir.
but I went through, when I say everything that could possibly go wrong in every area of my life, from my health
Mm,
to my job to different things in the home, everything was affected at one time. It was so overwhelming. It was that wilderness experience that I sing about on the album.
mm-hmm.
That's where that song came from. Everything was cool. And then suddenly, ooh, wait, what is this? Where am I at? How did this happen? How am I going to get out of this? That's what happened to me. And I almost didn't make it through that. And to your very same exact point, that was the crossroad for me because I had a decision to either walk away from God and everything I knew
Mm-hmm.
because the situation was so severe, it made me feel like He didn't love me. And
Mm,
I've been serving you, I've been in church, I've been doing this, I've been doing that, and you would allow this to happen to me.
mm-hmm.
That took me out. Like that was just too much. But even in the depths of that despair, God still was working with me in that experience and He pulled me out of it. And I began to see how I knew God one way, like a surface way. Like I go to church, but there was a deeper, something deeper He was calling me to.
Mm-hmm.
And when I accepted that and I said yes to that, everything around me, the circumstance, everything straightened itself out like you wouldn't believe. Spiritually, I grew immensely, and the Lord had to challenge me, like, you know, all the, because I'm that one who just start quoting scriptures and stuff like that. I've been like that since I was a kid.
Mm.
And He let me know, okay, you know those scriptures, but do you believe them? Okay, because what's going to get you out of this situation is you got to start reading my word and believing it and practicing it and doing it with more of a reverence and a more of a fear, if you will, respect wise, not fear like that, but
Right.
and so when I began to understand that, everything changed.
Mm. Mm.
Everything changed.
Oh man, it's just it's so good when you can have a candid conversation and talk about the realness of faith. It's not just, hey, I go to church. Yeah, I know the scriptures, this and that. God bless me. I return my tithe. Boom, bam. I get dressed. I do this. I sing, and boom. But when it hits, it's
Yeah,
like, yeah, where's this coming? Are you really real now? Like,
right.
that it's a real thing.
Yeah,
It's a real thing. Um,
definitely.
yeah, I appreciate you. I really do. So now let me ask this: what's next for you? What's on the horizon? What's coming out now?
Well, I mean, I definitely want to do more music.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta kind of like, take a little break because I don't want to produce another project that sounds exactly the same, something close to the same, but this is my creative space right now. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I'll probably grow and hear different things in different ways. And so by the time I do my next project, I want it to be a little bit different. And so I definitely want to work on something in the future, maybe by next year or so. That's kind of where I'm at, you know.
Okay.
First,
Okay.
first rodeo, so I'm just seeing where we land.
Listen, for your first rodeo, you're doing all right. I mean, 20,000 monthly listeners. Like, is there a marketing team behind you? Like, what's happening here?
Yeah, no, I definitely invest in marketing and people that I know overseas that have been helping me,
Mm-hmm.
get on the radio, being a part of playlists and different things like that.
Right.
And it's kind of accumulated. Like you can pay for marketing, but you don't know if people are going to respond. People don't have to, you know what I'm saying? But the way that I say it is, I'm little old Samona. I'm little. Like I live in Sacramento. Nobody knows me. So who's going to know my music exists if I don't try to market it and put it out there?
Mm-hmm.
So, that's my thing. And, you may think locally, you know how it is for local artists, like, everybody doesn't support you. They just
Right.
don't.
Right.
But realizing that there is a great big world And they may not like you in Sacramento, but maybe over there in France somewhere, they may love you. But how will they know unless you get your music over to them so they can hear it and decide? So that's basically what I've been doing, investing in, getting it out there and seeing who responds.
Mm-hmm. And I'm glad you said that, because so many people I see, they spend 95% of all of their resources. I'm gonna make this project the best sounding project, and this and the studio. And then once it's done, it's like, all right, people are supposed to listen to it and go, oh man, I want to tell everybody. And it does not work like that.
It doesn't. I did that with Fear. That was one of the first songs I put out like by myself. And I put that out there, and that's what I thought. I'm just going to put it out there. Oh, hallelujah. The Lord is going to bless. People are going to hear it, and I don't got to do nothing. I did my work. I'm done. So it didn't work like that. To my surprise, people were streaming it. I don't know how they found it, but it wasn't like anything like this when you put the effort into actually trying to market it.
Right. Very good. Very good. How can people stay connected to what you're doing or connect with you? Let people know.
So I'm on Instagram. I'm new to Instagram. So, just go ahead and follow me. I'll probably follow you back. It's under Samona W Music. And I'm on Facebook under, my music page is Music by Samona. Obviously, I'm on the digital platforms like iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, just under Samona. I used to be Samona J. So some of my friends say Samona J. But, I got married. It's the W now. So I just say, listen, we'll just keep all of that off. It's just Samona.
Right. I got you. That's cool. Oh, any last words of advice or something you want to share with listeners before we end?
Just to be encouraged, stay encouraged, stay around positive people, God-fearing people who are wise, music-wise. Stay around people who have been doing this longer than you. Put the pride aside. Some of these OGs that have been producing for all of these years, been musicians for all of these years, get the wisdom from these people so that you can grow and so that you can be better. I think a lot of times as musicians can, have little issues with our little egos and things like that. But, to put out some really good music, it does take a team, and it does take sometimes you consulting with other people to get the best possible product so that you can convey your message in a well packaged format. And so I just want to encourage everyone out there to hold on to the Lord, pray. Hold on to your faith and be blessed.
Thank you. Oh man, I thank you for being a guest on TFARRELL Presents. I love your music. Anybody check it out, just go to iTunes, type Samona. Boom, she'll pop up. I'm gonna put some links in the description. So wherever you're listening to this, be it on a podcast platform or on YouTube, if you scroll down in the description or, the description or the show notes, you'll see it. You'll see some links. Click on the link. Definitely support Samona. If you enjoyed this, share, subscribe. I thank you for following. And our hope, our prayer is that God uses something that was said here to speak directly to you and to bless your life. And with that, we're out.